Hello, it's Jimmy. I had an interesting little experiment that I did the other day involving a decision around the pension that I'm entitled to. I have the option of taking a lump sum distribution of a pension that I had from a company I worked for. And it's not a giant amount of money, but it is something that I probably should think about. It's perfectly fine to leave it where it's at. I always have the option of taking the lump sum, and I know about what the monthly payments will be in the future. So I needed to kind of weigh my options on it. There are plenty of calculators online that will help you determine the payout of a pension and future value based on a present amount. That part isn't very hard to do. And when I ran the calculations and did some scenarios, I found that if I took the lump sum out now and invested it the way I like to invest, it would grow to about the amount that I would need to purchase an annuity to give me consistent monthly payments, just as the pension would do in the future. So that tells me that the math from the company that holds the pension is pretty decent. Even calculating things like inflation isn't terribly difficult to do. Life expectancy, the actuaries are pretty accurate on that, so it's a little bit depressing to look into that. But these are all factors that I needed to put in to get as accurate of a result as I could. Well, in doing this little math experiment, I realized that it really isn't about the math for me, because I need to think about how I, in the future, will feel about making a decision on this pension today. The nice thing is I don't need to make a decision on it. There's no pressure. I can always take the lump sum when I want, and that's good to know in case the interest rates drop, the lump sum value goes up. I could take it then and put it into an IRA and let it sit. Conversely, I can just leave it alone and take the monthly payments when I want to. I could do them now, or I can wait until full retirement age and start taking that draw and have a very consistent paycheck for the rest of my life. And moving the sliders around in the math and changing those numbers in the spreadsheet isn't very difficult, but trying to figure out what I will be thinking and what I will feel in the future is a little bit more challenging, because there really isn't a spreadsheet or a website where I can drop in those variables. I came up with 5 behavioral factors that I hadn't been thinking about just doing the math. One is probably the most important, and that's peace of mind. Am I going to want that consistent monthly payment, knowing what that check is going to be every month, regardless of what the market conditions are? Conversely, will I regret not taking the lump sum now and putting it into the market and letting that thing grow? 2 is flexibility. If I take the lump sum payment right now, I can't ever put it back in. I can never re-enter that pension. If I took it, I'd certainly invest it. I'm not just going to take the hit on the taxes and all that and penalties. I would be reinvesting it, but putting it into an IRA or some vehicle that I have more control over. Well, and that leads to the third thing, which is control. Do I feel confident that the company holding that pension is managing it responsibly, or do I need to take it away from them and have it under basically my control? Of course, if I put it in the market, I don't have any control over the market, which is probably a good thing that I don't have any control over that. We'd be in a mess, but control is certainly an issue that I had not thought of previously. Number 4 is longevity risk, and that sort of ties into an idea in the financial planning world called the sequence of returns risk, meaning if the time that you start wanting to draw down your retirement accounts is a bad market year, that will severely hamper the money available, once you're done through that accumulation phase, you kind of want that market stability to stay high, not drop down, or at least stay stable, so that your principal doesn't diminish as you're drawing it down. So is that a consideration? Don't know what the markets are going to do in the future, so a little bit hard to predict that, but I had to think about, well, how would I feel when I'm at full retirement age? Will that stable income coming out of the pension help alleviate some of the stress should the markets be in poor condition at that time? And the fifth thing, more on the behavior side, is regret minimization. So what am I going to feel least regretful about should things turn sour? And by that, I mean, will I regret not taking the lump, investing it, and should the markets do remarkably well, and here I could have way outpaced what the monthly payment would be from that pension if I put it into the markets, what am I going to regret in the future? You usually don't know until you've gone through it, and then you can look back and regret things. But try not to do that in normal situations, but it is something to consider, when it comes to retirement. So the real question wasn't about what option is going to give the best returns. Where am I going to get the most money for it? Because really the math was fairly even when I looked at leaving it or taking a lump and investing it. What I came up with was making the decision based on which option is going to give me the best chance of being satisfied in the future. So understanding the numbers, not that big a deal. I could do that. I did identify some of the risks that are involved in both taking the lump sum now and leaving it there. I had to think about my future lifestyle. I really don't know what I'll be doing. I know there's some things that I would like to be doing, but knowing kind of the rhythm of how people age and the cycles you go through in retirement, you have the go-go years where you actually spend a lot of the money and you're out doing things. Then the slow go years where you're not maybe traveling as much, not out doing a lot of things. And then the no-go years where you're just kind of convalescing, sitting around. It's hard for me to think that I'll be one to just sit around, but I mean, that's the reality of it when we look at averages of how people spend their retirement years. And then I have to think about, well, what outcome would bother me the most? If I did X and this happened, would it bother me more than if I did Y and that happened? Well, I added that all together, the math side and the behavioral side, and then I, for now, have made a decision, and I'm going to just commit to it. Now, I'll revisit my decision in a few years, and maybe do that every so often just to make sure it's still in line with what I'm thinking. And, should my my math change, or maybe I have a different idea of how I'll be thinking in the future, I can revisit it. But what I've decided for now is just to leave it alone. I've been leaving it alone for a couple of years. I'm in no hurry to really make a decision. I can just leave it alone, and I'm fairly certain it's going to still be there, still be an option. The pension is being managed quite well. It's overfunded, and it's with a reputable organization. So I'm not too concerned about it being mismanaged. So for now, just going to leave it alone. Now, even though this exercise was specifically thinking about my pension, I really can apply it to other areas of my investing and retirement calculations. Okay, I wrote down what I was thinking and now I can't remember it, so pardon me for a second. So many financial decisions aren't solved by finding the highest expected return, but they're solved by figuring out which outcome you'll be able to live with. So I think that's a very good summation of this exercise and how I can apply it to future decisions. I mean, I'm very good at figuring out the numbers, the spreadsheets, doing calculations. That's never been an issue. But, more the behavior side. Now, doing the Ramsey program for many years, that is all about behavior. But for whatever reason, I forgot to factor in behavior when I was looking at the numbers for my pension. And, doing that future forecasting, that seemed to be kind of a blind spot for me. But now that I've gone through it, I think I'll try to pay a little bit more attention to it. Well, that's all I've got to say about my pension today. I might have more in the future should I decide to do something different, or maybe just talk about pensions in general, because they are kind of a rarity today. As always, thanks for watching, and I hope you're having a great day.